Hello, and welcome to Potentiate's Let's Talk About CX webinar, 5 tips for improving your CX strategy. Some of you joining this webinar will be familiar with Potentiate's CX programs, while others may not. So just to give a bit of background, Potentiate has designed and managed customer experience programs for many clients across various industries since 2010. We have built CX programs from scratch, as well as rejuvenated existing programs. Wherever a company is in their CX journey, Potentiate can help guide them on the importance of having a comprehensive CX program in place, as well as how to maximize the benefits. Running a successful CX program is a lot more than just sending surveys, collecting data, and building a dashboard. And this is what we will be discussing today. Your presenters today have a combined 58 years and counting of experience in the market research industry. We're both passionate about CX, and you can also catch us having lively conversations about other important topics such as football, music, trivia, geography, demography, and much, much more. It is my great pleasure to introduce Andrew Dye, who has been an account director at Potentiate for the past 6 years. Andrew and his team manage several CX programs, bringing the voice of the customer to life and ensuring that improvement opportunities are identified. Actionability and identifying improvement opportunities are at the core of Andrew's CX programs. My name is Ante Grabovac, and I have just started my 22nd year at Potentiate. Time flies when you love what you do. Like Andrew, I have helped numerous companies to establish their CX programs, conduct workshops, train, make adjustments, and implement improvements along the way as their CX strategies mature over time. My current role as solutions engineer is to implement the best possible outcomes for Potentiate's clients. Andrew will explore the first 3 tips: how to maximize a feedback opportunity, making it all about the customer, and respecting the customer. I will then talk about our 4th and 5th tips, targeting your improvement efforts and enhancing CX with supplementary data. At any stage, if a question comes to mind, please type it in the chat box so that we can address them at the end of the presentation. Once again, thanks so much for your time and attendance. And to begin the first of the 5 tips for improving your CX strategy, I will pass you over to Andrew.
Thanks, Ante. The first tip we're going to look at is all about maximizing the feedback opportunity. For maximum impact, we want to ensure that the program measures the aspects that matter to customers. It's easy to identify the major touch points, but there will also be influences before and after a purchase, as well as during ownership, all of which will determine how an owner feels about your business. Understanding the journeys that customers take will allow you to identify the key experiences. You can then determine the occasions and timings when feedback is needed. A strong CX program will aim to improve the experience for all customers. However, too many programs only talk to those who made it through to buying the product or service, not those that gave up. Where possible, also seek feedback from non-buyers to understand what didn't work for them. For most companies, there are many more non-customers than customers, so that's where your growth will ultimately come from. Amongst customers themselves, try not to limit who's contacted. Some programs only seek feedback from specific subgroups. All of your customers will have an opinion and will talk about you, so aim to involve as many of them as you can so that the program is as representative of the full customer base as possible. To be truly effective, a CX program needs to identify as many opportunities as possible to fix customer issues. However, many programs only generate hot alerts for customers who were disappointed, typically those classified via Net Promoter as detractors. We should be giving every customer the opportunity to ask for follow-up, even for relatively minor matters. After all, if the customer feels that it is important, we should want to address their issue. We've seen many examples where contact requests from satisfied customers have been for accessory sales, appointment bookings, even buying new products, so it can definitely be revenue positive as well as simply good practice. Ideally, you should treat requests from satisfied customers with the same urgency as those from dissatisfied customers. After all, just because I was broadly happy with the experience, does this mean that I want to wait a long time to be helped? I don't think so. Where the program measures the time taken to respond to hot alerts, it's important to ensure that all requests count towards the average. The second area we're going to look at is about making it all about the customer. A common failing we see with many CX strategies is to focus too heavily on the overall scores, whether they be net promoter, customer satisfaction, customer effort, or whichever metric you use. The overall score can't be directly changed. It's simply the product of lots of individual customer experiences. The best strategy is to focus on each customer, giving them the best experience that you can. Achieve that, and the positive score will follow. CX strategies can be sidetracked when too much emphasis is placed on reaching specific score targets. We've seen many well-meaning programs where large financial bonuses are paid for reaching targets. This gives program participants two paths to choose from. They can focus on customer service itself to try and generate positive results, or they can focus on trying to manage the score. All too often, we see customers being coached, being told to give certain scores, or even berated when they've given low scores. We also see a lot of effort going into having certain low-scoring responses removed to drive the score up. This does nothing for the real customer in the real world. Customers give up their free time to help out by giving us their feedback. If they tell us something that needs our attention, it's really important that we respect that and respond. The great thing about doing this is that the numbers tell us that this has positive outcomes. We've seen so many cases where customers who had a problem resolved well were more satisfied than those who had no problems. This doesn't mean that the solution is to create problems just so that you can ride to the rescue. Rather, it's about dealing well with issues when they do occur and measuring the results when you do. Perhaps more importantly, those improved results represent real customers who are more likely to return to your business and more likely to recommend you to others. Real-world outcomes are a much better return on effort than simply an adjusted score in a program. The third area we're going to have a look at is about respecting your customers. We want the feedback the customers share to be as specific as possible so that it gives us the best chance to identify strengths and areas for improvement. To help customers to do this, though, we need to ask for their feedback soon after they have the experience. It doesn't have to be instant as they walk out of the door, but within a few days at most. Human nature also tells us that people remember negative experiences for longer than positive ones. So surveying customers soon after their experience is likely to deliver a better mix of feedback. So try and organize your data systems to deliver customer contact details quickly so that the surveying can happen soon after the event. As we noted earlier, customers are giving up their free time to respond to our surveys. They could be watching the TV or in better times outside lockdowns, socializing or dining out, but they've chosen instead to help us out. We need to respect this by taking no more of their time than is strictly necessary. Be ruthless when reviewing the questions. Ask yourself for each one, is this going to improve a customer's experience? If not, don't ask it. Also, try to avoid loading surveys with what you might call policing questions, simply to record whether or not something happened. This isn't feedback or opinion that's interesting for customers to provide. If you really want an audit of processes, this is better addressed through mystery shopping. A common complaint from those who take part in surveys, as well as those that don't, is that they don't know if anything ever happens as a result of their feedback. Early in my career, when I had to learn my craft pounding the streets as an interviewer, I lost count of the times I was told that this stuff never goes anywhere. If customers have been kind enough to help us out, the least we can do is commit to listening to what they say and then taking action where we can. Find ways to show that you're listening, that the response and the feedback have helped, perhaps in marketing communications or when the customer next visits your business. Why not have the business manager randomly call a few customers each month to thank them for their feedback? Imagine how impressed they might be. Do you think they would help out next time or mention it to others? I would think so. And with that, I'll hand you back to Ante to take you through the next two areas.
Thank you, Andrew. The fourth topic we wish to look at is targeting improvement efforts. There are many unique issues across all CX levels. Many issues are able to be uncovered by constant tracking, smart survey design, and having dashboards that can be easily interpreted by users at all levels. Areas for improvement could be vastly different for the head office, the region, the retailer, and the individual staff member. An action-orientated survey design and dashboard should be able to quickly and easily help identify areas of improvement. Some examples of issues we have encountered and addressed include a delivery delay in one region not being an issue in another, the app developed for one purpose not suiting all types of users, the access to a click and collect area to pick up items works well for one store but not the neighboring store, staff shortages over key holiday periods causing CX issues, communication issues of one staff member not being evident in other staff. A struggling region could focus to assist the poor performing retailers, ideally the larger ones, that are having the most negative impact on the customer base. We are able to identify these items because we are constantly tracking interactions over time. Rather than trying to address every single issue at once and be overwhelmed, each area should prioritize one or two areas to focus on and work towards an achievable timeframe to help correct these issues that will drive CX improvements. Improvements may need to include training, a change to a process, a redesign of an app or a website, or anything that is pertinent to your organization. Some improvements may be able to be achieved in isolation. Others, like a delivery issue, may need several processes and a larger contingent of stakeholders to uncover the bottlenecks and make appropriate changes. We have seen successes in CX programs that incorporate action plans to their CX program. Action plans can help to maintain the focus on the areas identified as ones to improve. Having clear visibility of the opportunities to improve is critical. A well-designed CX program will give you that focus. From alert notifications for individuals requesting contact, to data changes to keyword mentions, alerts can help to ensure that nothing is missed. To assist in picking up data changes, alerts based on triggers could be implemented into a CX program. This trigger may be a KPI change by a significant amount based on a relevant time period. Notifications could also help to identify key changes in key touchpoints within the customer journey. If a new product is launched, then a keyword notification could help to uncover the reaction to the product. As Andrew mentioned, setting alerts and having a team member address a customer that is requested to be contacted, whether they are positive or negative, is important in any CX program. Handled correctly, disgruntled customers can become customers for life. Queries can become a sales opportunity. One word of advice, be careful not to overdo it. If notifications become overwhelming or irrelevant, then key changes can be ignored and ultimately opportunities missed. Strike a balance with what is important for the appropriate stakeholder. It is absolutely critical to have the right people in the right position to be a customer experience champion. People who are at the front line of communication with customers need to be multi-skilled, showing empathy, understanding, and enthusiasm with product knowledge and problem-solving skills. They don't have to know everything, but the organization needs to support the individual by having the appropriate training and the right communication channels for the CX person to be able to assist the customer at all steps of the customer journey. People in the regional office need to also focus on the customer and how to deliver products efficiently and support the frontline CX person to help solve customer issues. Head office needs to understand the entire customer journey and support customers in all aspects of the touch points they will have with the organization, be that human or online contact, as well as identifying improvement opportunities, be that in the product or service being provided. A properly implemented customer experience program assists people at all levels to understand where they are succeeding and where improvement opportunities lie. It is the responsibility of the customer experience lead at all levels to improve processes and communication channels with the customer to ensure that the customer will want to return in future. Regular reviews and workshops with CX champions will help to maintain focus. The fifth topic we wish to look into today is enhancing CX with supplementary data. Working in tandem with the CX program should be the voice of the employee. Many studies showed the more engaged an employee is, the better the outcome for the customer. Engaged employees are more attentive and in tune to their customers' needs. They are more inclined to have the customer as their focal point, listening to every interaction, learning from it, and being able to understand how to help the customer at each touch point. If there is disenchantment with employees due to anything from a product to a process, it needs to be addressed before the customer is exposed to it. Employees can also provide positive suggestions that could ultimately improve processes, reduce employee churn, and improve efficiencies for themselves and the customers. The voice of the employee is a critical component to any CX program, and as long as it is a true program for improvement and not just a data collection tool with no follow-through, it becomes an integral part of the holistic CX program. In the spirit of continuous improvement, if employees have made a suggestion and as a result a process has changed, inform them, praise them, let them know that the time spent to complete a survey resulted in improvements made. It rewards the employees for their time and makes their opinions valued. People completing a voice of the customer survey are already completing a survey on the company's behalf. And as we have already engaged the customer to complete a survey, while they are at it, they are more likely to continue on to become a community member. As the Voice of the Customer program provides you with a continuous longitudinal pulse of the customer, the community will give you the depth of understanding where you can probe for more responses, do concept testing, conduct forums, and much, much more. Organizations can have their own ready-made panel able to inform you with their opinions. Good practice is to ask the appropriate audience the appropriate questions. Segment the audience to answer what they are more likely to be interested in so that you do not overburden the respondent. As Andrew mentioned in the Respect Your Customers section, reward the customer and community members with feedback on actions taken as a result of their feedback in marketing material, in direct messaging, or in future survey invitations. Something as simple as a result of your feedback, we have implemented the following items to improve your experience. This approach will make the people providing feedback feel that it is a worthy investment of their time. They feel more valued and are likely to provide more feedback in the future as the organization has listened and changed processes as a result. Adding supplementary data from different sources such as spend, revenue, brand health metrics, social media listening, operational metrics, product satisfaction over time, and other relevant data will help to accentuate the CX program and provide a single view of where there are impacts to the business. By having the data together in one view, it could provide an indication of any impact and lag effects of the customer experience data. For example, if there is a coming supply issue, will overall metrics go down? Or if that is supplemented by relevant communication with the customer at all levels, will that compensate for the delivery issues? If there is planned downtime of an online application, what are the best channels of communication to inform and alleviate customer impact? What is the impact on reputation via social media? We have seen that time and time again with our customer experience programs that good, upfront, proactive communication will help to overcome delivery and downtime issues. We have also connected CX programs and helped companies enhance their reputation on company and product review sites. However, do not overcomplicate the message. Always maintain focus at the task at hand. Design data views for appropriate audiences. The call center may not need to know about the budget for innovation. Therefore, there is no need to add data visualizations for the call center to view that data. At a retail store level, it may be appropriate for employees to see lost sales or a decline in revenue as a result of customer dissatisfaction. However, other data may not be relevant to them. Keep it simple. Keep the users in mind at all times. When designing CX dashboards together with supplementary data, do not confuse or dilute their CX focus areas. As a recap, there are several ways to make a CX program more engaging for the customer and for the company conducting it. A CX program is a great listening tool to understand the voice of the customer. Design it correctly from the start by mapping out the customer journey, and it will reap ongoing benefits in the future. Make it easy for the customer by not imposing on too much of their time with smart, engaging questionnaire design. Make it easy for yourself with smart dashboard design that suits the audience and is action orientated. Just as the customer and employee spent their time to provide their feedback, respect them by listening and actioning on improvement areas. Once actioned, tell them, shout it from the rooftops. Combine the breadth of the CX program with the depth of the community to maximize feedback opportunity. At all times, keep it simple and appropriate for the audience. Once again, our 5 tips covered today are maximize the feedback opportunity, make it all about the customer, respect your customers, target your improvement efforts, and enhance CX with supplementary data. Andrew and I thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar and hope that you were able to take something away from our presentation. We are now available to answer any questions that you may have. Please enter them in the comments box below.